Sometimes when playing with dimensional-based origins, there can be some occasions where you're left beyond reach. And that's what the idea of this origin comes from. Created by the user 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 from the Origins Discord server, the Beyond Reach origin is for version 1.17.1. The Beyond Reach origin has an impact level of 3, meaning it has a maximum impact upon the game. You are being connected to a location beneath the bedrock. The stranded gains for you. Let's roll right into the abilities. So the first ability of this origin is called Deep and Lonely. Upon pressing the primary key, you rip the fabric of reality and enter a deep location beneath the bedrock called the Stranded. And hey, if you don't want to be stranded, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below right now, or you'll be stranded in the bedrock zine forever. When you press your primary ability, you'll be teleported into this weird dimension that is, well, it's its own thing. It is filled to the brim with bedrock, black stone, and some splotches of water every now and then in a practically pitch black zone. There is not too much light in this area whatsoever, and due to some of the weird details and effects you get given by this origin as well, which we'll go over later, you practically can't really see too much. Everything's a bit of a haze, everything's a bit of a blur, it's a bit of a... I don't know exactly how to describe this really. Just take a look what's on screen. It is a very weird and enchanting place, but basically from what I can tell from my map, it is all just this dark, either black stone and bedrock materialized stuff. There's nothing more to it aside from that, and it's just, I don't know, like, there's no good way to describe what this is, to be honest. It's just its own weird, unique ability. And of course, when you press your primary ability, you will be teleported back to the overworld. Another interesting thing that happens when you teleport in between the two dimensions, the overworld and your stranded dimension, you'll be given 15 seconds of maximum resistance and slow falling in order just to counteract whatever may potentially be waiting for you when you go between dimensions. Moving into your next origin, you've got Between the Rift. You can exist between a plane of reality between your connection of the Stranded and the overworld. Using this ability causes you to lose your vision, but allows you to have flight like in creative mode. This ability seems to be the most useful, useless ability you can probably get. This is key to your secondary ability, and when you do press it, you'll lose all form of vision entirely. You can still look at your F3 menu and look at your coordinates and stuff along those lines, but you cannot see whatsoever. But you do get given the ability to fly around. I'm not sure how to think about this one. One of the plus sides about this though is this will disable your ability to take fall damage whilst you're in this mode. So let's say you're about to fall to your death and you don't have anything to save, you can just quickly press your secondary ability to stop yourself from taking the fall damage that will kill you. But if you do press your secondary ability whilst you're in the air flying around, you will fall down and die potentially. So it's very, I don't know, it's very up in the air with that one. This ability seems to be the most useful, useless ability you can get, because yeah, you get the ability to fly, but you're entirely blind, so does it really help? Like, does it really help you at all? I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen here, because it's just one of those things where there are more questions than there are answers, and there's a lot less uses for this just because of the fact that you're entirely blind. Moving on, we've got the Banish ability. Hinting an entity will banish them to the Stranded forever. This ability is such an interestingly intriguing ability, so pretty much whenever you hit a mob, any mob whatsoever, it will be instantaneously teleported to the Stranded dimension, roughly in the current location you're standing at now, so you'll see it next time you go into the Stranded dimension. Once you do this once, the ability has roughly a few seconds of a cooldown before you can do it again, but this will happen to pretty much every mob that you hit as long as there's enough time between each one to do it. This can be both a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. This can be a good thing because it can get rid of creepers and things along those lines off your back almost instantaneously, but at the same time it's a bad thing because things like cows, sheep and pig, they can all be instantaneously teleported as well, meaning that if you're trying to kill them for food, they're going to teleport to the other dimension, then you have to find them in that dimension, which is pretty damn dark and very difficult to find the other mobs, so it can be a bit annoying at times. Moving on to the next ability, we've got Curse. Any entity that lays a finger on you in the intention of harm is also instantly banished to the Stranded island. Just for a quick side note, I've got resistance 8 in this recording bit here, just because I don't want to reveal a certain other ability that you get a little bit later on, so I'm just hiding that for now. But basically, this is by far, personally to me, it is the funniest effect you can gain. So, if you get swarmed by a bunch of zombies, don't be too afraid, because each time they hit you, they will instantaneously be shot off to another dimension. And the cooldown of that ability is so short that any mob in between every single hit, every single time a mob hits you, it will get teleported. Creepers on the other hand will instantly explode and can murder you, so beware of that one. They really can't teleport after they're already dead. But the coolest effect about this is when you go to your stranded dimension and you just see all of those mobs that have hit you over the time span of God knows how long float down towards your current position and start chasing after you. That was the funniest thing to me when I went over to the other dimension after spawning 64 husks. After letting them all hit me and be TP to the stranded dimension, going into the stranded dimension afterwards gave me the funniest laugh ever, because you just see 64 of them falling down from the sky, then all of a sudden they're all starting to chase you, but it's just beautifully hilarious. This really can give you some brilliant effects if you just want to have a bit of fun with it. Anyhow, moving on from that ability, we've got Comforting Oblivion. The stranded grid grants you strength, making you deal an additional 5 damage whilst in there. This does not give you the actual strength potion effect, meaning that you can still stack this potion effect on top of the strength boost you get whilst in the Oblivion. This is going to be super good and super handy when it comes to the example that I stated just before with the last ability, when there's just a huge swarm of mobs that have teleported into the stranded dimension because of the fact they keep trying to hit you. So you have the ability to pretty easily kill them off when they start to chase you, because you God know already that they're going to start running after you the moment you get in that dimension. So you got to be careful. So this bonus strength is kind of handy and very, very useful at the same time. Moving into the next ability, you've got Unfortunate State. The stranded has taken a toll on your physical capabilities, causing you to take twice as much damage when elsewhere from the stranded. This is the main reason why I had the maximum resistance on earlier in the video when I was playing around with the ability that causes mobs to go to the stranded dimension when they hit you, just to make sure that this doesn't get leaked out too early. But basically, yeah, you take twice the amount of damage than normal. So basically, even though you got this beautiful ability that teleports mobs away from you whenever they try to hit you, they can still hit you at least once, so they can still deal you damage. And because they do twice the amount of damage than normal, it's going to hurt a lot more than normal, especially when it comes down to creepers. Do not mess with creepers. They will pretty much one-shot you 9 times out of 10 unless you've got max Netherite gear with blast protection on. That's probably one of the few ways you can avoid dying to a creeper, because creepers do a lot of damage regardless, let alone when they do twice the amount of damage they normally do towards you. So just be careful, you know. I swear this origin makes you feel like you're trying to play dodging with mobs. You're running around because it's like one of those things, if they do hit you, you will take double damage. Granted, the second they hit you, they get teleported away, so you don't have to worry about that mod anymore. But for something like a skeleton that can sharpshoot you from a mile away and you won't even notice it, he could just come up, take your final bit of health just because he does double damage, and it's like he's gone. You will never know where the hell that skeleton came from or where he is now, because he's gone. He's moved into the next dimension because he hit you. It is the funniest thing with this origin. Like, honestly, if you don't care for how easy or hard it is to play with survival, this is just kind of funny. This entire Origin's ability set is just hilariously stupid to play around with, because it's just all the weird things that can happen with it, the shenanigans you can happen with it. Basically, in the overworld at nighttime, you want to be the one who hits first. You want to make sure you hit first and don't get hit back, because you will take a lot of damage. Granted, again, those mobs will get teleported away, but you still take the damage, so it's pretty funny. Moving into our next origin though, we have Dark Eyes. Within the Stranded, your eyes struggle to visualize anything. This is the biggest reason why it's pitch black in the Stranded, almost pitch black anyhow. It's just because you can't visualize anything too well. So if you weren't in the actual origin itself and you got put in here by a guy with the Beyond Reach origin, then you'll just see everything as it is. It's just normal, bright, normal world type scenarios and things along those lines. Even maxed out Gamma doesn't get around this ability that well either. Moving on, we've got Use of the Depths. Your eyes have gotten confused, frequently going to the strand that has caused anywhere with sunlight to blur your vision. This honestly produces such a simple effect that's really, really cool. All this ability truly does is just pixelate your screen, pixelate all the blocks, pixelate your character, and pretty much pixelize anything around you when you're in the sunlight. The moment you leave the sunlight, there will be a noticeable change as that effect disappears, because it's very noticeable when it does disappear, because all of a sudden everything's no longer as pixelated. I think the pixelated effect is actually really cool overall. I think it's a really well done effect and works really well. But a weird way to get around it, if you do press F1, it kind of disables that effect entirely, as it seems to be an overlay effect, kind of the likes of which is the pumpkin head type thing, where you can disable it by pressing F1, removing your entire HUD details. So I don't know. I don't think you can really do much about that. It's just a really cool effect that kind of gets easily avoided by those little things. But hey, it's really cool nevertheless. less. Then again, after further testing, the F1 thing only seems to work in creative mode, so I don't know, maybe the effect doesn't exactly work in the exact way I say it is. Practically, the best way to describe it is like every single little pixel was given its own little outline. It's very, very small of an outline, but it's enough that it's noticeable to give like some form of a grid pattern to a lot of different objects and things along those lines. Moving into the next ability, you've got missing. After spending so long in the strand, did you feel a part of you missing? It's not exactly obvious on what this thing is that you're missing, as it doesn't exactly describe anything in detail, and from a little bit of experimentation, it doesn't exactly show up too easily. So I guess the important question asked is, what are you missing?